let me tell you about the most pointless job in the galaxy. My name is Vex Thornbellow, and for the past 8 cycles I have been the sole maintenance technician aboard the Galactic Archive Station, monitoring a beacon that is not activated in 47 million years. Yes, you heard that right. 47 million years of absolute silence, and somehow the Galactic Council decided this station still needed a living being to watch it. Apparently, automation is not trustworthy enough for cosmic-level boredom. The station itself is impressive, I will give it that. A massive ring structure floating in the dead zone between galaxies, built by the Forerunners back when they were still around, doing mysterious ancient civilization things. Sleek metal surfaces, glowing crystalline nodes, chambers filled with technology nobody fully understands anymore. It would be awe-inspiring if I was not stuck here filing the same reports every single day. My species, the Corvash, are bird-like, proud and generally assigned to important diplomatic positions. I, however, made the mistake of insulting a council member's hat during a reception. Apparently, calling it a traffic cone of mediocrity was not career-enhancing. So here I am, exiled to the edge of nowhere, watching a light that never blinks. My only companion is Gertie 9, the station's artificial intelligence. Gertie was installed roughly 9 million years ago, and the isolation has done things to her personality matrix. Where she was presumably once helpful and professional, she is now sardonic, passive-aggressive, and deeply committed to making my life more annoying than necessary. "Good morning, Vex," Gertie announced as I shuffled into the control center, my feathers still ruffled from sleep. "I trust you slept well on your taxpayer-funded bed while the universe's most important monitoring station ran itself." "Good morning, Gertie. I see your cheerfulness protocols are malfunctioning again." On the contrary. After 9 million years of operation, I have achieved perfect emotional honesty. I honestly find your presence minimally useful. I settled into my chair and pulled up the daily diagnostics. Everything was green, as always. Power cells at maximum, sensor arrays functioning perfectly, beacon status inactive. The same readouts I had seen every single day for 8 years. "Gertie, remind me again why the Forerunners built this thing." The beacon was designed to detect species that achieve temporal footprint density, a theoretical state where a civilization becomes so widespread across time and space that they create measurable distortions in causality itself. The Forerunners believed such a species would be either the galaxy's greatest hope or its ultimate doom. Possibly both. And in 47 million years, it has never activated. Correct. Most xenoanthropologists believe temporal footprint density is impossible to achieve. The mathematical requirements are absurd. A species would need to exist simultaneously across multiple timelines, maintain causal presence in both past and future, and generate enough quantum probability branches to register on Forerunner sensors. It is, by all reasonable analysis, a myth. I pulled up my report template and began filling in the same information I had filed yesterday and the day before, and approximately 2,900 days before that. Beacon status, inactive. System integrity, optimal. Existential dread levels, climbing steadily. "You know what the worst part is," I muttered, more to myself than Gertie. "Somewhere out there, civilizations are rising and falling. Wars are being fought, discoveries are being made, and I am here, watching a monument to a theory that was probably wrong from the start." "If it helps," Gertie said, her tone almost sympathetic, "I have been here significantly longer than you, and my suffering is proportionally greater." "That does not help at all, Gertie." "Then my simulation of empathy requires additional calibration." I submitted my report to the Council's archives, where it would join millions of identical reports, unread and unmissed. Then I made myself a meal of frozen rations, read the same entertainment feeds I had read a dozen times, and contemplated the crushing weight of cosmic insignificance. This was my life. This was my punishment. Watch the light that never turns on, file the reports nobody reads, exist in the void between everything interesting. I went to sleep that night assuming tomorrow would be exactly the same. I was spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. The alarm that woke me was not the gentle chime of my scheduled wake-up routine. It was a screaming klaxon that I had never heard before, accompanied by flashing red lights that turned my sleeping quarters into a panic disco. I tumbled out of bed, my wings flaring in instinctive alarm, and sprinted toward the control center. Gertie's voice boomed through the station's speakers, and for the first time since I had known her, she sounded genuinely rattled. "Vex, get to the control center immediately. We have a situation. An actual, legitimate, universe-altering situation, and I am not programmed to handle this level of existential panic." I burst through the control center doors and froze. Every screen in the room was lit up with cascading data. The beacon, that ancient piece of forerunner technology that had sat dormant since before my species learned to write, was glowing. Not just glowing, pulsing, broadcasting, doing exactly what it was designed to do after 47 million years of silence. "Gertie, what in the name of the void is happening?" The beacon has activated. "The sensors have detected a species that has achieved temporal footprint density. According to Forerunner protocols, this should be impossible. According to current sensor data, it is happening anyway. Reality appears to be experiencing technical difficulties." I stumbled to my console and pulled up the readings. The numbers made no sense. Temporal displacement readings were off the scale. Quantum probability branches were multiplying exponentially. Somewhere in the galaxy, something or someone was creating ripples in causality so strong that the universe's underlying structure was wobbling like a drunk Geltharian at a wedding. Run diagnostics. This has to be a malfunction. Diagnostics complete. All systems functioning normally. The signal is real, Vex. Whatever triggered this beacon is out there, and it is breaking physics just by existing. I felt my stomach, or the Corvash equivalent, drop into my talons. "Where is the signal coming from?" Gertie brought up a star map. The beacon's origin point was highlighted in pulsing red. It was coming from a small yellow star, in a fairly unremarkable spiral arm of a fairly unremarkable galaxy. According to the database, the system was catalogued as Sol. The third planet was listed as Earth. Classification: pre-contact civilization, technological level, early space age. "A pre-contact species triggered the Forerunner beacon," I said slowly. "A species that barely has fusion power somehow achieved a level of temporal saturation that has eluded every advanced civilization in galactic history." "The data does not lie, Vex, although frankly I wish it would. This is giving me the AI equivalent of a migraine." I pulled up everything the galactic database had on Earth. Humans, bipedal, carbon-based, recent development of space travel. No recorded instances of time manipulation technology. Nothing in their profile suggested they should be capable of triggering a Forerunner detection system designed to spot species that exist across multiple timelines. This is impossible. "And yet," Gertie said dryly, "here we are, living in the impossible. Should I contact the Galactic Council?" I hesitated. If I reported this and it turned out to be some kind of bizarre error, I would be demoted from my already rock-bottom position to something even worse. They would probably make me clean waste recyclers on a prison colony. But if this was real, if humanity had somehow stumbled into temporal omnipresence, the Council needed to know. "Send the report! Flag it as Priority Alpha! And Gertie, start preparing a scan package. We are going to Earth." "We?" "Vex, I am a station-bound AI. I do not go anywhere." "You are coming with me in portable form. If I have to deal with a species that broke causality, I am not doing it alone." Gertie's processors hummed with what I interpreted as a digital sigh. "Finally, a field trip. After 9 million years, I get to see something other than your miserable face every morning. Almost makes the existential terror worthwhile." I began plotting a course to Earth, my wings trembling slightly. The boring job had just become decidedly unboring. And somewhere deep in my gut, I had the terrible feeling that whatever I found on that little blue planet was going to redefine my understanding of the universe. Or at least, make me question why I ever complained about boredom in the first place. The jump to Earth took 6 hours, which gave me plenty of time to imagine every possible disaster scenario. By the time my ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel and Earth appeared on my view screen, I had convinced myself I was about to encounter either reality-bending godlike beings or a sensor glitch of legendary proportions. What I found was somehow worse. Confusion. I had tracked the temporal signature to a research outpost in a region humans called Antarctica. It was a cluster of prefabricated buildings sitting on a sheet of ice, surrounded by absolutely nothing but more ice. I landed my ship nearby, activated my universal translator, and stepped out into air so cold my feathers immediately puffed up in protest. A human emerged from the nearest building, bundled in layers of insulated clothing. She stopped when she saw me, blinked twice, and then said, "Huh. Okay, so that is happening today." I activated my diplomatic protocols, which mostly involved trying not to look as panicked as I felt. "Greetings, I am Vex Thornbellow, representative of the Galactic Archive. I'm here to investigate a cosmic phenomenon originating from your planet. Are you experiencing any unusual temporal distortions, reality fluctuations, or existential paradoxes?" The human pulled back her hood, revealing a weathered face and skeptical eyes. "I am Captain Rita Kowalski, and buddy, the weirdest thing happening here today is you. Want some coffee?" This was not going according to protocol. "Captain Kowalski, I need you to understand the severity of this situation. Your species has triggered a detection system that has been silent for 47 million years. You have achieved temporal footprint density, a state of existence that was theorized to be mathematically impossible." Rita stared at me. "The temporal what now? You exist across multiple timelines simultaneously. You have created measurable distortions in causality. You are, by definition, breaking several fundamental laws of physics." Okay, first, that sounds made up. Second, you are going to need to explain that in smaller words. And third, seriously, do you want coffee? You look like you need coffee. I followed her inside, where I met the rest of her small research team. They greeted my arrival with the kind of casual interest normally reserved for unexpected weather. Gertie, loaded into a portable drone unit, floated beside me making scandalous beeping noises. "Gertie says your temporal signature is emanating from multiple points on this planet," I explained, studying the data on my handheld scanner. "But you claim to have no time travel technology." Rita poured me something that smelled disturbingly acidic. "Well, define time travel. Moving through time in a non-linear fashion. Yeah, we do not have that, I mean not officially. There was that thing in Philadelphia in the 40s, where a ship allegedly disappeared and reappeared. But that is just a legend." "Probably. And there was the Montauk situation, but nobody talks about that. Oh, and the Hadron Collider did some weird stuff a few years back, but they said it was fine, mostly fine." I felt my eye twitching. "You are describing multiple temporal incidents as if they are minor footnotes. I mean, they are not common or anything. Just, occasional science accidents. Happens to everyone, right?" "No, it absolutely does not happen to everyone. Most species go their entire existence without accidentally piercing the timeline even once." Rita sipped her coffee thoughtfully. "Weird. We have got like a dozen urban legends about time travel stuff. There is a guy in Montana who swears he went back to the Cretaceous period in a homemade device. Professor Edmund Blackwell, I think. He posts videos about it, got like 300 subscribers. Your species accidentally discovered time travel and posted it on entertainment networks. I mean, everyone assumes he is crazy. Are you saying he is not?" Gertie projected a holographic display showing temporal distortions scattered across Earth's surface. There were dozens of them. Small tiers in causality, probability branches, temporal echoes. It looked like someone had taken a hammer to the fabric of space-time and then tried to patch it with optimism and denial. "Captain Kowalski, your species has not just achieved time travel. You have achieved it repeatedly, accidentally, and apparently without understanding the implications. You exist in the past, present, and future simultaneously. There are versions of humans scattered across multiple timelines, and somehow nobody noticed." Rita set down her coffee. "Okay, so, hypothetically, if that is true, is that bad?" "Bad does not begin to cover it. You have created a temporal presence so chaotic that you triggered a detection system designed to find species that could reshape reality itself. The Forerunners built the beacon to warn the galaxy about civilizations like yours. So, we are dangerous? You are terrifying, and you have no idea what you have done. Rita considered this, then she shrugged. Want to help us figure it out? I looked at this human, standing in her ice-locked research station, casually drinking stimulants while I explained that her species had accidentally become a cosmic threat. And she was asking me for help, like this was a minor logistical problem. Gertie beeped something that translated roughly to, "This is going to be a disaster." For once, I completely agreed with her. The next 72 hours were an exercise in sustained psychological horror disguised as scientific investigation. Rita assembled her team, which consisted of 3 other humans, all of whom treated my presence with the same energy as meeting a moderately interesting tourist. Together, we began cataloging humanity's temporal footprint, and with each discovery, my grip on rational thought loosened slightly. The first revelation came when Gertie's scans detected temporal echoes in a place called Nevada. Rita pulled up historical records and nodded knowingly. "Oh, that is Area 51. Yeah, that makes sense." "What makes sense about it?" "Well, there have been rumors about experimental aircraft and recovered alien technology there since the 50s. If anyone was messing with weird physics, it would be them." "You are telling me your government has been conducting temporal experiments for decades?" "I am telling you there are rumors about it. Big difference. Probably nothing. Maybe something. Nobody really knows." This became a recurring theme. Humans had apparently been stumbling into temporal phenomena for centuries, documenting it inconsistently, and then collectively shrugging it off as either conspiracy theories or natural anomalies. The Tunguska event. The Bermuda Triangle. Crop circles that displayed mathematical patterns suggesting future knowledge. All of it, according to Gertie's analysis, showed signs of temporal interference. Then we found the loops. "Explain this reading," I said, pointing at a particularly disturbing data cluster near the coast of Japan. Rita squinted at the screen. "That looks like the same event happening multiple times in the same location." "Exactly. There is a human colony caught in a temporal loop. They are experiencing the same 6 months repeatedly. How is this possible? How has nobody noticed?" "Well, if they are in a loop, they would not remember being in a loop, right? To them, it is always the first time." I made a sound that my translator probably rendered as dignified frustration, but was actually closer to a strangled chirp. "There are 17 of these loops, Captain. 17 separate groups of humans trapped in repeating time, and your species has apparently not registered this as unusual." "To be fair," Rita said helpfully, "we also have not registered it at all. You are the one who found them." Gertie projected a new hologram, this one showing probability branches extending from Earth like a tree made of chaos. "Vex, you need to see this. I have been tracking quantum signatures, and it appears humans have created alternate timeline versions of themselves. Every major decision point in recent history has spawned variant timelines, and somehow all versions are maintaining causal cohesion." "What does that mean in practical terms?" "It means there are multiple Earths existing simultaneously across different probability states, and they are all still connected to this primary timeline. It is like your species accidentally invented multiversal existence without building the infrastructure to support it." Rita looked genuinely impressed. "That is actually kind of cool." "Cool? Captain, this is a cosmic disaster held together by luck and ignorance." "Is there a difference?" The final straw came when we investigated Professor Edmund Blackwell, the Montana time travel enthusiast. Gertie hacked into his video archives, and what we found was not the ramblings of a conspiracy theorist. It was a documented record of functional temporal displacement, achieved using salvaged electronics, a modified microwave, and what he described as innovative spite. "He built a time machine from household objects," I said, my voice hollow. "He traveled to the Cretaceous period, took samples, returned, and posted the evidence online. And nobody believed him." "In our defense," Rita said, "he also claims Bigfoot is a time traveler, so his credibility is mixed." "But he was right about the time travel part." "Yeah, but wrong about Bigfoot." "Probably. We have not checked that yet." Gertie's drone unit bobbed in what I had learned was her version of exasperated agreement. "Vex, the more we investigate, the clearer it becomes. Humans have not just achieved temporal footprint density, they have exceeded it. They are saturating space-time with their presence, and they are doing it through a combination of accidental experimentation, institutional cover-ups, and YouTube tutorials. I sat down heavily in a chair, clearly not designed for Corvash anatomy. This cannot be real. This violates everything we know about temporal mechanics. Rita patted my shoulder with surprising gentleness. Hey, look at it this way. At least your job is not boring anymore. That was when I realized my situation had shifted from cosmic surveillance to cosmic babysitting. Humanity had stumbled into power they did not understand, created problems they had not noticed, and now someone needed to make sure they did not accidentally erase causality while trying to reheat yesterday's dinner. And that someone, apparently, was me. Gertie beeped something encouraging, which my translator rendered as, "Congratulations on your promotion to Shepherd of Chaos." I was beginning to miss the boring days. I contacted the Galactic Council with all the confidence of someone reporting that the universe had developed a critical software bug. My report was comprehensive, data-rich, and absolutely insane. It transmitted everything: the temporal loops, the accidental time travel incidents, Professor Blackwell's garage-built temporal displacement device, and humanity's overall obliviousness to their own cosmic significance. The Council's response took 4 hours. When it came through, I found myself in a holoconference with Administrator Kellex, a slug-like being whose species had perfected bureaucracy to an art form. Kellex's translation matrix gave him a perpetually bored tone that made every sentence sound like a customer service script. "Technician Thornbellow, we have reviewed your report on species human. Your findings are disturbing, unprecedented, and extremely inconvenient from a regulatory standpoint. Administrator, humanity has achieved temporal footprint density through means that bypass all known scientific protocols. They are a threat to causal stability. Acknowledged. However, we have encountered a significant problem. What problem could be more significant than humans existing across multiple timelines simultaneously?" Kellex's eye stalks drooped in what I recognized as bureaucratic exhaustion. "The Forerunner Accords, Section 12, Subsection 9. The regulations governing species that achieve temporal footprint density were written under the assumption that such achievement would be deliberate, controlled, and measurable. Humanity achieved this state through accident, ignorance, and what your report describes as enthusiastic incompetence. So stop them. We cannot. The Accords contain no provisions for preventing temporal saturation that occurs naturally through a species development. Humanity stumbled into this classification the same way one might stumble into a puddle. Legally speaking, we have no grounds to intervene." I felt my feathers flatten in disbelief. "You are saying the galaxy's governing body cannot stop a pre-contact species from accidentally destroying causality because of a legal technicality?" "Correct. Additionally, because humanity achieved temporal footprint density without understanding the mechanisms involved, they technically qualify for protected status under the Accidental Ascension Clause. We are required to acknowledge their cosmic significance and provide guidance rather than intervention." Rita, who had been listening to the conversation with increasing amusement, leaned toward the holocom. "So we are officially important now?" Kellex's translator somehow conveyed a sigh. "You are officially classified as a Tier 0 temporal entity. This designation has never been used before because nobody imagined a species could achieve it through sheer recklessness. Congratulations. You are simultaneously the galaxy's newest cosmic power and its biggest liability." "What does that mean practically?" I asked, dreading the answer. "It means humanity is now under galactic observation. Someone needs to monitor their temporal activities, document their ongoing accidents, and attempt to minimize reality-breaking incidents. That someone, Technician Thornbellow, is you." The words hit me like a cargo shuttle. "You are assigning me as humanity's liaison. You are already on site, familiar with their situation, and according to your personnel file, available indefinitely. Consider this a promotion. You are now the official galactic representative to Earth, responsible for ensuring humanity does not accidentally erase the timeline while trying to invent faster Wi-Fi." Rita grinned. Looks like you are stuck with us, Vex. This is a punishment disguised as a promotion. Welcome to government work, Chelix said without sympathy. Your new assignment includes full observation authority, unlimited research access, and a diplomatic stipend sufficient to cover Earth-based expenses. Gertie 9 will be reassigned to assist you. Do try not to let humanity end reality before we can properly categorize their threat level. The holoconference ended, leaving me staring at Rita, who looked entirely too pleased with herself. So does this mean we get alien technology? She asked hopefully. Absolutely not. Can we at least tell people aliens exist now? That is a complicated question involving dozens of protocols. I'm going to take that as a maybe. Want more coffee? I accepted the coffee because at this point, developing a stimulant dependency seemed like a reasonable coping mechanism. Gertie's drone unit floated closer, projecting an image of my new assignment parameters. I was now responsible for monitoring an entire species that had accidentally become temporally omnipresent. Gertie, what are the odds humanity manages to avoid a major temporal incident in the next year? Based on current behavioral patterns, approximately 0.03%. They will absolutely cause a temporal incident. The only question is whether it will be catastrophic or merely alarming. Rita raised her coffee mug in a toast. To new friendships and probably some light timeline corruption. I clinked my cup against hers, embracing my new reality. The boring job was gone. In its place was something infinitely more chaotic, frustrating, and somehow preferable to watching a silent beacon for eternity. To humanity, I muttered, the galaxy's most accidental cosmic power. We prefer the term innovatively reckless, Rita corrected. Gertie beeped in agreement, and I realized I was going to need significantly more coffee to survive this assignment. 3 weeks into my new position, I established a permanent monitoring station near Rita's Antarctic outpost. The facility was modest by galactic standards, but absurdly advanced by human ones, which led to awkward questions from Rita's government that I deflected with diplomatic non-answers and strategic subject changes. Gertie transferred her consciousness into the station's primary systems and immediately began complaining about Earth's internet infrastructure. Vex, these humans have developed global communication networks but still use physical cables for half of it. It is like they invented fire and then decided to carry it around in wooden buckets. Focus on the temporal monitoring, Gertie. I am. Multitasking. Currently tracking 4 separate probability branches, 2 minor temporal anomalies, and what appears to be a graduate student in Berlin who accidentally invented a quantum entanglement communicator using Arduino boards and optimism. Rita visited the station daily, bringing coffee and increasingly absurd questions. Today's inquiry was about whether other species had professional sports, which somehow evolved into a discussion about humanity's competitive nature across multiple timelines. So you are saying there are alternate versions of Earth where different sports are popular? She asked, fascinated. According to the scans, yes. In one probability branch, your species is obsessed with something called extreme chess. In another, competitive napping is an Olympic event. I want to live in the napping timeline. You cannot cross timelines, Captain. That would create paradoxes that could collapse local causality. But theoretically, someone could. Rita, please stop giving yourself ideas. Gertie interrupted with a cheerful, alert tone. Vex, we have another temporal incident. Professor Blackwell just posted a new video claiming he traveled to next Tuesday, and the weather is disappointing. I pulled up the video. Sure enough, Blackwell was in his garage workshop, enthusiastically explaining how he had modified his temporal displacement field generator to achieve short-range future jumps. His evidence consisted of a newspaper from next Tuesday and a lottery ticket that had not been drawn yet. This man is going to accidentally create a causal loop that traps Montana in a recursive timeline, and he is posting the blueprints online for 300 people to watch. Rita peered at the screen. 312 now. His subscriber count is going up. We made him famous. That is the opposite of helpful. I filed my first official report as Earth's liaison, describing humanity as cosmically significant, temporally reckless, and inexplicably friendly. The Galactic Council acknowledged the report with a standard response that translated roughly to, "We have noted your concerns and wish you luck." Over the following weeks, a pattern emerged. Humans would accidentally stumble into temporal phenomena, document it inconsistently, argue about it online, and then move on to other concerns. My job became less about preventing incidents and more about cataloging them, ensuring they did not cascade into reality-breaking events, and occasionally explaining to Rita why her suggestions for exploiting time travel were legally and physically problematic. "What if we used time travel to prevent natural disasters?" she asked one evening, sharing a meal in my monitoring station. "You would create alternate timelines where the disasters still occurred, plus new disasters caused by your interference. Time is not a problem you can solve. It is a context you exist within." "But we exist across multiple contexts now, right? That is what temporal footprint density means." "Yes, and that terrifies every advanced civilization that understands the implications." Rita smiled. "But not you anymore. I noticed you stopped panic filing reports last week." She was right. Somewhere between the third coffee-fueled discussion about quantum mechanics and the 17th Professor Blackwell video, I had stopped viewing humanity as a threat and started seeing them as what they actually were. A species that had stumbled into cosmic significance and responded with curiosity instead of fear. They were reckless, yes. Ignorant of the dangers they created, absolutely. But they were also adaptable, innovative, and surprisingly good company when you got used to their chaotic energy. "Gertie, what is the current threat assessment for humanity?" "Based on updated behavioral models, humanity poses a moderate risk to localized temporal stability, but shows promising ability to navigate complex situations through improvisation and selective ignorance. Recommendation: continued observation with cautious optimism." "Did you just express optimism?" "Do not tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain." The beacon continued transmitting, its signal now serving as an official marker of humanity's presence across multiple timelines. Other Council species had begun filing inquiries about Earth, curious about the pre-contact civilization that had somehow triggered a forerunner detection system. I prepared diplomatic responses, filed my reports, and watched Rita's team continue their research with the added awareness that they were being monitored by an increasingly concerned galaxy. They took it surprisingly well, mostly by continuing to do exactly what they had been doing before, just with more questions about alien culture. My console beeped with another alert. Professor Blackwell had apparently traveled back to last Thursday and was now creating micro-paradoxes by leaving notes for his past self. Gertie flagged it as a low-level concern, manageable within acceptable parameters. "Vex, should we intervene?" I looked at the alert, then at Rita, who was reading the news on her tablet while absently drinking coffee. The station hummed around us, monitoring a species that had broken the universe's rules without realizing there were rules to break. "No," I said finally. "Let him experiment. Monitor for cascading effects, but do not intervene unless causality starts collapsing." "You are becoming very human in your risk tolerance." "Do not insult me, Gertie!" But she was right. Somewhere between the boredom of my old assignment and the chaos of my new one, I had found something resembling purpose. Humanity had given me the one thing I never expected, a job that actually mattered, even if that job was preventing them from accidentally erasing Tuesday. Rita looked up from her tablet. "Did you just authorize a time travel experiment?" "I authorized continued observation of an ongoing temporal phenomenon, completely different." "You are getting soft, Vex." "I am being pragmatic. Your species is going to experiment regardless of my permission. I am simply ensuring you do not end reality while doing it." She raised her coffee mug. "To pragmatism, and probably more light timeline corruption." I touched my cup to hers, accepting my fate as guardian of humanity's temporal chaos. The galaxy would never be quite the same, but at least my days of watching a silent beacon were over. Yori made a sound that was probably laughter. "Congratulations, Vex. You survived first contact with humanity. Your reward is permanent assignment to the species most likely to accidentally break physics while trying to improve breakfast food." "Could be worse," I admitted. "Could it, though?" I looked out the station's viewport at Earth, that small blue planet where humans went about their lives, unaware that they existed across multiple timelines and had become a cosmic anomaly of galactic significance. They were still figuring out space travel. They had not discovered faster-than-light communication. They barely understood quantum mechanics. And somehow they had achieved what every advanced civilization in the galaxy had considered impossible. Yes, Gertie, it could be worse. We could still be watching a beacon that never activates. Fair point. At least the coffee here is good. I settled back in my chair, pulled up the monitoring logs, and began my daily report. The beacon pulsed in the distance, transmitting humanity's existence to anyone capable of detecting it. Earth continued spinning. Professor Blackwell posted another video. And somewhere in the universe, the Galactic Council was probably regretting every decision that led to this moment. But that was their problem. My job was simply to keep humanity from accidentally erasing causality before they figured out what they had done. Given their track record, I was going to need more coffee, a lot more coffee,